Why do K-pop groups look completely untouchable on stage, and then turn into the most lovable people the second the performance ends? How can the same idols go from fierce, powerful, and almost unreal to shy, chaotic, funny, and weirdly adorable off stage? That contrast is not just fun to watch. It is one of the biggest reasons fans fall so hard. There is something almost addictive about that gap. First, you notice the charisma. Then, you stay for the personality. And before you even realize it, you're emotionally invested. Today I want to talk about one of the most fascinating things in K-pop. Why some groups feel so different on stage and off stage, and why that double charm makes them impossible to forget. For most people, it starts with the stage. A performance is often your first introduction to a group. You see the lighting, the styling, the confidence, the choreography, the expressions. Everything feels sharp, controlled, and larger than life. The members do not just perform the song, they create a whole atmosphere around it. And that atmosphere can feel intense, sometimes even intimidating. Some groups look so polished on stage that they almost do not seem real. They feel distant in the best way possible, like stars you are meant to admire from far away. That is what makes the first impression so powerful. You are not just looking at talented people, you are looking at presence. And presence matters. A strong stage persona gives fans something to remember instantly. It creates excitement. It creates curiosity. It makes you stop scrolling. But then comes the second part, the part that turns casual interest into real attachment. You see them off stage. Maybe it is in an interview. Maybe it is a behind-the-scenes clip. Maybe it is a live stream, a reality show, or just a short, funny moment online. And suddenly, everything shifts. The member who looked cold and fierce on stage is actually shy and soft-spoken. The one who seemed almost intimidating turns out to laugh at the dumbest jokes. The group that looked elegant and untouchable 5 minutes ago is now bickering over snacks, teasing each other, or completely failing at a simple game. That gap is powerful because it feels like discovery. You are seeing another layer, another side that the performance alone could never fully show. And people love that feeling. We love watching someone transform. We love contrast. We love realizing that the person who looked the most intense under stage lights might actually be the sweetest person in the room. That is the moment a group becomes more than impressive. They become endearing. And that matters more than people think. Because admiration alone does not always create loyalty. You can admire many artists from a distance, but what makes fans stay is emotional connection. That connection often begins when idols stop feeling perfect and start feeling human. Not ordinary, of course. Still talented, still beautiful, still magnetic. But human in a way that feels warm and relatable. They get embarrassed. They joke around. They misread things. They act dramatically over nothing. They support each other in quiet little ways. Those moments may seem small, but they completely change how people see a group. Now the performance means more, because once you know what they are like off stage, their stage persona becomes even more impressive. You are not just seeing charisma anymore. You are seeing transformation. And transformation is captivating. It is one thing to be cool all the time. It is another thing to switch from playful and messy to powerful and commanding the moment the music starts. That kind of duality keeps people watching. It creates suspense, even when you already know the group. You begin to anticipate that change. You want to see how the soft one becomes fierce, how the chaotic one becomes focused, how the member who seems quiet off stage suddenly dominates the entire performance. That contrast gives idols dimension. And dimension is what makes people memorable. This is especially important in K-pop, because so much of the experience goes beyond music alone. Fans are not only listening to songs, they are watching performances, interviews, behind-the-scenes content, variety clips, live streams, and group dynamics. In other words, they are not just getting one version of the artist, they are seeing multiple sides. And when those sides feel very different in the most satisfying way, the group becomes even more compelling. It also helps that K-pop is built around teams. That means the contrast is not just individual, it happens inside the whole group dynamic. On stage, everyone is synchronized, intense and highly controlled. Offstage, they interrupt each other, make each other laugh, argue over silly things, and reveal the chemistry that makes the group feel alive. That chemistry is a huge part of the appeal. Because at some point, fans stop asking only, are they talented? They start asking, do I enjoy being in their world? That is the real shift. A group becomes unforgettable when they can give you both excitement and comfort. The stage gives you the thrill. The offstage side gives you warmth. One side pulls you in. The other side makes you stay. And for many fans, especially female viewers, that emotional rhythm is a big part of why K-pop feels so immersive. It is not just about watching people perform well. It is about feeling something different in each setting. On stage, you feel awe. Off stage, you feel affection. And when those two emotions keep alternating, the attachment gets stronger and stronger. That is why so many fans say they came for one performance and somehow ended up learning every member's personality. Because once you notice the gap, it becomes part of the experience. You start seeing the fierce performer and the soft, offstage self as two parts of the same charm. Not a contradiction, but a complete picture. And maybe that is the real reason this works so well. The stage version shows discipline, ambition, confidence, and artistry. The offstage version shows humor, awkwardness, kindness, and heart. Together, they create someone who feels both extraordinary and lovable. Someone you can admire and feel attached to. That combination is incredibly powerful. So when people ask why K-pop groups feel so addictive, why fans get so emotionally invested, or why some idols seem impossible to get over, the answer might be simpler than it looks. It is the double charm. The ability to be untouchable on stage and lovable off stage. The ability to stun you first and then make you smile. And once a group can do both, they are no longer just performers you admire from a distance. They become people you want to keep watching, keep understanding, and keep cheering for. That is the K-pop gap. And honestly, that might be exactly why fans fall harder than they ever expected.